Rich McKay actually is the mastermind. He'd deny it, but he is the one of the founding forces behind Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Nice to have you in Atlanta. Welcome.
Always. Thanks again. So you come from Tampa in 2004, and the Georgia Dome is good outside, but economically counterproductive and antiquated inside. How long did it take you after you got here before you realized we got to have something new?
Well, when Arthur and I discussed coming here, I had an agreement with him that I was not going to be involved in a new stadium deal, that we would just, the Georgia Dome was a good home. That changed probably 2 years later. And I think, Rick, for us, 07 was a defining moment. We talked to them about renovation. We did some renovation. We made the building better. And I think then Arthur turned and said, this is not a long-term solution for us. We need to go to the end of our lease. We don't need to go early. We need to go to the end of our lease, and we need to build a new building. That's when we started.
And May 19th, 2014, May 14th, May 19th, you remember the date?
May 19th is an important day for me because that's an anniversary. So let's assume it was May 14th.
So it's May 14th, whichever is correct. So how hard, obviously, it's an easy question, how hard was it to do in a town that's so politically diverse, let's say?
A lot easier politically than we ever would have thought going in, because I think we took the right approach in that we tried to give them a public-private partnership that made sense. We tried to say to them, hey, let's just use the hotel motel tax that built the Georgia Dome. No, don't give us any more than that. Make a contribution from that and put all the risk on us. The deal we did in Tampa was exactly the opposite. We went and got a sales tax, which was incredibly politically hard to do, because then a lot of people are paying for it that actually are never going to use it. And then we said, okay, and you pay 100% of the cost. Right. And this one, we took all of that risk. And I think it made it an easier sell. It's never easy. I mean, it took us 4 years to get through all the political process, 4.5. But it was definitely more cordial, and it was working towards a common goal the whole time, as opposed to other stadiums where it gets very confrontational.
And Arthur Blank's community acceptability and his understanding that he needs to do good and people understanding that made it easy?
Credibility, that word matters, right? In all aspects. Right. And Arthur has that, and he has it here in Atlanta, and he's earned it. And one of the things we started from a credibility standpoint, we said, hey, listen, we're all about downtown Atlanta. We're not going anywhere. Yeah. This is where we're going to be. Let's make this work. And I think that's a good place to start.
Months into opening, Garth Brooks, home games, happy?
Oh yeah, we're crazy happy. Yeah, good, really good. Like anything else, it's new to us. We haven't been stadium operators before. We're in a bunch of new businesses. We're in the food business. We're in a stadium operations business. We're in a tour business. We're in an event catering business. We're playing soccer. We're doing things we've never done, so we're not perfect, far from it. I think one of the things we've done, and I recommend to everybody that gets in the stadium business, is we've really tried to stay right next to our fan and understand from them all the issues all the way along the way. So we're getting better.
Game day difference, game day experience, game day prep, Georgia Dome versus here.
100% different, right? The Georgia Dome was built and was an incredible building to view an event. Yeah, that's what it was built for. Yeah. It was to view an event, and it was a multi-purpose building, meaning it can host a lot of different events. We went about it differently. We tried to say, listen, we know we can get the bowl right. That's not hard. Let's build a multi-specific stadium that when we go to that stadium mode, today's Falcons mode, it's going to be Falcons. When you come back next week, we have 70,000 people in here for Atlanta United, you would not know the Falcons play here. I mean, it will be a Atlanta United specific stadium. When you were here for Garth Brooks, you would have thought it was a concert setup. So we tried to design it with the mindset of every event that comes in here should own this building. That's why everything inside the bowl is digital. We don't have one sign in the building other than Mercedes-Benz, because we want to be able to change the building.
There's a lot of tension, let's say, or different issues with a lot of people about greening. It doesn't necessarily lead to direct ROI, but it's certainly the right thing to do. How do you deal with that? This is a green building, but it also impacts your bottom line positively.
It does. I think we went into it with the idea that Arthur challenged us to say, listen, we want to be LEED certified. We want to try to be LEED certified at the highest level, LEED Platinum, which is what we're shooting for and what we think we can get. But let's not do it by any of the old-fashioned way, which is buying credits and doing all these deals with energy companies that don't really move the needle. Let's do it in the real way. So we hired Scott Jenkins from Seattle, who came in here to run our building, who wakes up every day worried about green. And I think we did some really cool things. I think our water plan is real. I mean, we have 2 cisterns that one's 1 million gallons, one's 600,000 gallons. Our ability to reuse that water, capture that water, it's all meaningful and important. And for us, it was never about ROI when it came to the green side.
What are the hidden gems, or is there like one really cool hidden gem here that you can talk about?
So I think that I'm going to give you the simplest one that we like is you can actually circumnavigate this building on any level. In other words, you can walk all the way around it with any ticket. And so people think, oh, that was simple. You know, that wasn't quite as simple, and none of these new buildings do it, and we don't understand why. Because if you call me and want to have a beer, and we're in some of the new buildings today, I can't see you. I can't get there. So what you see in those bridges that are hanging behind us where people can walk is the connection between the levels. And we just think that the social aspects of stadiums going forward are as important as the design of the bowl. They are, because people are going to have alternatives. It's called television sets. That 30-incher now today is the exact same price as it was, but now it's 70 inches. And the experience is incredible because we're at 4K. So we know we have to create a social atmosphere. We spend as much time designing behind the bowl, meaning the concourse area, as we did in the bowl.
Well, that's inside. Now talk about outside for a minute. The Atlanta's Community Center. This is a big deal.
Big deal. We try to tie right into downtown. We have 2 MARTA stations, which is our mass transit, and we're 200 feet on one direction, 200 feet the other. So we're right in the hub of that mass transit. And then we try to create something that would be inviting. So you're going to see when the Georgia Dome comes down on November 20th, you'll see a backyard built. We'll call it the Home Depot backyard. It'll be truly a park for the West Side community, and then we'll tailgate on a game day. So we're trying to be truly the center of downtown.
What does this do for the Falcons brand?
We're on an elevating arc. That game at the end of last year hurts still. This is just another piece of that elevating arc. We don't want to be, Arthur would never wake up in the morning and say, hey, let's try to be a top 10 franchise. It's not his object. Let's not try to be a top 5 franchise. You know, he wants to be the top franchise, and that's what we're trying to do.
Super Bowl 2018, you going to be ready?
Oh yeah, we'll be ready. Yeah, we'll play here in 19. We're 19. And the requirement, Rick, of the NFL has always been that you have to operate for a year.
Shakeout year.
So this is that year.
Right.
We have the College Football National Championship game this year in January. So we'll have a pretty big event there. We'll have 75,000 in the building. We've already had 2 college kickoff games with Florida State, Alabama, Georgia Tech, Tennessee. Both those games had 75,000 in the building. So we're well underway. We'll be ready.
International audience, tell us what A&B Sports and Entertainment is, and you run it.
So it's his kind of roll-up company where we put the Falcons, we put Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we put Atlanta United. We really try to do it too. We independently empower those entities. So Atlanta United, we hired Darren Eales from Tottenham to come run that business, and he runs it. It's his business to run. He's done a fantastic job. Our job is to support him. Anything he needs, we're going to give him. On Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we hired the best of the best to do it, and we've empowered them. So it's kind of who we are, we use A&B Sports as one place to go. If you got issues, we'll help you.
So you and your brother and your father, 6 national championships, 12 Rose Bowls, 1 XFL championship, which was huge, a Super Bowl, Coach of the Year. What were Thanksgiving dinners like?
Yeah, crazy. We didn't have Thanksgiving dinners, right? I mean,
you were playing, right.
The cool thing about growing up in it, Rick, for me was probably the 3 years my brothers played was as cool as it can get, right? You see your brother, who's your big brother, who used to, knock you around a little bit, but was your best buddy, is playing at USC. My dad's the coach. We won 2 national championships in 3 years. He catches the winning touchdown in the last game of his career in the Rose Bowl with 2 minutes to go. That's a pretty good day. So people always say to me, oh, was the Super Bowl your favorite day? What's your favorite moment? No, that's my favorite moment. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was 15 years old, and it was cool. So my dad always used to have a phrase that I try to live by with my kids, which is include, don't indulge. So we were always included, but we were never going to be overindulged, and that was kind of the way we operated as a family, and it was cool growing up.
You were also included in the reaction where in the late 70s, so your dad coached the winless Bucks, and when he was asked about his team's execution, he said, I'm all for it. Was that the line?
That was the line. He was asked about, hey, Coach, what do you think of your team's execution, and he quickly responded, I am all for it. And it caught a lot of reporters off guard, but it still, NFL film still has the sound bite, so it's pretty cool.
It lives in infamy. And for you, I'm just trying to figure out, does it matter to you that that's the question people want to always ask about you?
No, anytime they bring up the coach, we're happy to talk about him, right? And I get it all. It's crazy, Rick, how I still get it with everybody saying, hey, I knew your dad, I liked your dad, I followed your dad, I was a young guy when your dad, so it's really cool.
Stetson Law School, 84. Did you ever think you'd be here?
No. I went to law school. My dad was pretty clear to us, to John and myself, that listen, don't go into football. You guys need to go get a profession and learn something and have a trade. And, that way you won't have to move around and do all that stuff. So I went to Stetson to be a lawyer and left and went to clerk for a federal judge for 2 years to be a lawyer. So no, I never thought that I would end up in this world.
And then final question is, you did a pretty good job, Super Bowl 37, so the architecture of building a Super Bowl team, you've done it before. How long before this team gets back?
I would say this, we're a good football team, and we're a good organization. Dan, Quinn, Thomas Dimitroff, we operate at a high level in my mind. We've created a culture for our football team that's going to give us a chance to win for a long time. Super Bowls are hard. Everything has to go so right. Last year, I was in a sports bar watching Dallas play Green Bay, and I knew that the end of that game was going to have a direct impact on whether we could get to the Super Bowl because we were going to play on home or we were going to have to go to Dallas. And I think he was in at Green Bay by that much. So there's so many things that impacted. We have a good football team. We're on a good arc. We had a good chance.
So 15 years ago, Arthur Blank buys this team for $545 million. Rich McKay won't talk about the worth, but Forbes puts it at over $2.1 billion, and the NFL franchise value average is over $2.5 billion. And the reason it is because of facilities, franchises, and owners striving to be the best. And the reason that it is because people like Rich McKay help implement the vision.
Thanks, Rick.